Hello, welcome. Ian and Emma here with the TJEd, or what is TJEd, the main core central principles. How many times can I add an adjective on that to make it really important? But these guys,
But now
these are
you know
important,
it's
guys,
central.
right? And core and all the other words.
It's right at the heart of what we do with TJEd.
But, say it in English this time, the What is TJEd article, the blog post by Oliver and Rachel, and we're on central point number 6, which says, or basically says, I'm going to summarize in my own words, that part of a great education is identifying and then preparing for our life mission, for what we're called to do in this life. So it's really crucial, and it's amazing when you go through all these books that you're seeing, these cool books, and then all the great books that you'll come across in your life and reading why we want to be hungry, is when you come face to face with greatness. When you read great stories and great writings from the great women and great men in history, you resonate. You rub shoulders with it, and you want that. It kind of calls you to action. It makes you want to be better, and you resonate with some of those messages. Some of them you're like, oh, that's cool, that's a fun story. Others you're like, whoa, that's the coolest thing. And you'll kind of resonate. You'll identify what your passion is, or what your mission is, what your life's purpose is going to be about. You got to identify that. You got to find it and uncover it. And then when you start having that come out and come to fruition, you got to prepare for it. It's not good enough to just understand that, oh, here's an idea of, or, just to define it, a mission statement, your one sentence or your one page little mission statement. But
well, that's good. It's a great
right,
part
that
of this
is
process.
Great. But then to prepare for it, to really understand it, to really go in deep and go broad so that you have the preparation, the understanding, so that you can really fulfill your mission. So that's a vital part of a great education, is identifying and then preparing for your mission.
And I think one thing that's important about that is that, sometimes the mission we identify in our youth and this early stages of our educational process isn't always what we actually end up really feeling called to as we come to adulthood. It might not be what we really spend our life on and the legacy that we leave to the world. That said, even as the mission, as the purpose, as our direction changes and shifts, as it naturally does as we grow up into adulthood, even as those changes come, the momentum, the energy, the enthusiasm that is generated by having that driven for a purpose, just mentality, really is irreplaceable in an educational process. The fact that we sit there and come to this idea and say, you know what? This is what I'm going to give to the world. Now, what do I need to learn to make myself the best at that? I mean, that kind of energy is irreplaceable in an educational process. And even if the overarching great this changes and shifts, that energy still counts toward our education, and it still gets us to learn all those things. And on top of that, even as we change from this to whatever the real this is, the little things that we thought were so important for this have a strange way of ultimately connecting to the real this, the real mission, the real purpose, in ways that we don't necessarily foresee, that we can't really plan for, but yet are so crucial to our success in our real life mission. And I think that's really cool. It's really exciting. So not only does it generate the enthusiasm, the excitement, the drive to learn all these things that matter for our education along the way, but it actually turns out to connect to our ultimate purpose, even if we didn't quite realize what that ultimate purpose was when we did it. So it's just this cool idea of remembering why we're learning and driving towards that. It gives us the enthusiasm, it gives us the drive, it gives us everything that we need to really make that education count. And even if we're wrong about what our mission is, it still gets us the education, and it still gets us that much further on the journey.
Well, that passion, that momentum drives it forward, and you kind of zigzag a lot of the time. Yeah. Especially when you start young, you're going to be a firefighter, and then you're going to be an astronaut, and then you're going to be a farmer, and then you start honing in what is it action. Sometimes it circles back around. Turns out it was that. Yeah. So you can bounce around to think that's part of being a child, of loving, learning, and scholar phases, getting the breadth. Is getting some experience, testing a few things out so that you resonate and you can identify really what is that fine line, that focus, that pinpoint that you're chasing for the rest of your life. And it's powerful. And then it still zigzags, because that's what life is, right? You get curveballs and you don't know all the answers. But
that zigzagging and connecting that zigzagging to the passion for education, that right there that's what gets you a great education.
And the preparation.
Yeah, absolutely. For all of the twists and turns that your actual mission will actually take you on. So it's this cool, beautiful situation where everything just sort of works out. You plan for your mission. Your plans change as you grow. And yet, the education, the process, the journey still matters. In fact, it matters a whole lot more because you made the plans, because you remembered that it's all ultimately for mission. And even though it looks a little different than you thought it would, it still is exactly what you needed so that ultimately the legacy that you're born to leave to the world is exactly the legacy you're prepared for.
All right, have fun, trust the process, and live your missions.